for joining us today to learn more about how to extend Microsoft SCOM to monitor and diagnose performance of Citrix, SAP, and other business-critical applications. I am Holger Schulze, Vice President of Marketing for EG Innovations, and I'll be your moderator today. Now, before we get started, I'd like to remind you that you can submit questions at any time during the live webcast. Simply go to the GoToWebinar console on your screen and enter your question in the Q&A module. And we'll answer your questions toward the end of the webinar. Also, both the presentation slides and the recorded webinar will be made available to you after the live webinar concludes, for future reference and to share with your colleagues. All right, let's get started. Over the next hour, our presenter, Srinivas Ramanathan, CEO of performance monitoring vendor EG Innovations, will show us a unique solution to extend Microsoft SCOM so you can monitor and diagnose the performance of not only Microsoft applications, but also non-Microsoft apps such as Citrix, SAP, and other business-critical applications. Now, we all know that Microsoft System Center Operations Manager, or SCOM for short, is a leading platform for performance monitoring and management of Microsoft applications, such as Active Directory, Microsoft SQL Server, Exchange Server, IIS, or SharePoint. But we also know that SCOM does not have extensive capabilities to monitor non-Microsoft systems and applications, like Citrix or SAP, Oracle apps, Java, Sybase, what have you. And nor does SCOM have virtualization awareness, for platforms like VMware, vSphere, Xen Server, Red Hat, enterprise virtualization, etc. And in today's webinar, you will learn about EG Enterprise for SCOM, a new universal management pack that fills this gap and provides a single integrated solution with SCOM to address the performance management needs of today's enterprise. In particular, we will talk about how to monitor and troubleshoot your entire IT service infrastructure, end-to-end from the SCOM console, how to monitor applications and platforms not natively supported by System Center Operations Manager. We will show you how to instantly diagnose and get actionable insight into IT service health and performance, how to provide automatic, rapid root cause diagnosis for even the most complex performance problems. And finally, we'll tell you how to receive proactive problem detection and alerting before users call. All that so that you can maximize the return on your investment in SCOM. And before we start, though, let's do a quick audience poll to better understand your challenges with using SCOM for performance monitoring of your IT infrastructure. So let me launch the poll. And give you a couple of seconds to select your choice. So again, what is your biggest challenge with using Microsoft SCOM for performance monitoring? And we have 5 answers, starting with lack of visibility into non-Microsoft systems. Or is it troubleshooting across multiple monitoring tools? Another challenge we have listed is lack of visibility into virtualized environments. Then slow and complex problem diagnosis. And finally, is your key challenge is it's cumbersome, having to work with many different management packs. So we'll leave this poll open for a couple more seconds. As the results are coming in. But if you haven't selected your answer now, there's not 3 seconds left before I close the poll. All right, let me close it and share the results with you. You should now see the results on your screen. Now, this is very interesting. So it looks like most of you selected that it's cumbersome having to work with multiple management tools. 52% of our audience selected that as the biggest challenge working with SCOM, followed by lack of visibility into non-Microsoft systems, closely followed by troubleshooting across multiple monitoring tools, also closely followed by lack of visibility into virtualized environments. And last but not least, 30% of you say, 31% say that it's slow and complex problem diagnosis that is your biggest challenge. All right, very good. Now let's go back to our presentation. All right, so those results are also a very good segue into the topic of this webinar and our main presentation. So let me introduce our featured presenter, Srinivas Ramanathan. Srinivas is the CEO of performance monitoring vendor EG Innovations, and he will tell us how to extend Microsoft SCOM to monitor and diagnose the performance of Citrix, SAP, and other critical business applications. So without further ado, Srinivas, take it away.
Thank you, Volker. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Here's what we'll cover in the presentation today. We'll briefly touch on how IT infrastructures are evolving and review how performance management is being handled today. We'll focus on Microsoft System Center Operations Manager and see where it does well and where it does not. We'll then deep dive into a live demonstration of how the EG Enterprise integration with System Center Operations Manager can help you monitor heterogeneous, multi-vendor virtualized environments, including Citrix, SAP, and other business-critical applications, and using a unique universal management pack approach. Let's get started. In the past, we looked at performance management as monitoring and managing the utilization of key resources like CPU, memory, disk, etc. Today, the situation has changed. There are fairly good tools that you can use to monitor these resources. So this is not where the key challenge lies. The toughest performance problems that administrators face is the one where user complains that the service they're accessing is slow or is not working. User complaints are often about the service because that is what they see and they're accessing. Users don't talk about problems with Active Directory, with databases, or even with the network. All of these components of the IT infrastructure are not visible to them. The administrator's challenge then is taking the user complaint and determining where the real problem lies and fixing it so as to keep users happy and productive. Now, finding the root cause of a problem quickly is easier said than done. The reason is today's IT infrastructure is multi-tier and heterogeneous. On the screen, you see a typical infrastructure where a user is accessing a bunch of critical applications, SAP, Exchange, Microsoft Dynamics, and so on, through a Citrix farm. The first thing you notice is how many application tiers are involved in delivering this service. Walking this diagram left to right, you see that to access the service, the user has to go through a network, through the web front end, which then talks to Active Directory for user authentication. The user is assigned to one of these XenApp servers, accesses applications on the Citrix server, and from there, the user can do his job accessing enterprise applications like SAP and Microsoft Dynamics. Now, any of these tiers of the infrastructure can be hosted on virtual machines using technologies like VMware vSphere and Microsoft Hyper-V. Now, to deliver the service well, all of these tiers should work well. Otherwise, the user is going to see a performance issue. A problem anywhere in the infrastructure can impact the user experience, and interdependencies between the different tiers makes troubleshooting difficult and challenging. If one tier goes down, for example, the database on the back end, this can impact all the other tiers as well and result in impacting the user experience. So as an administrator, your challenge is to figure out when a user reports the problem, where is the root cause? Is it in the network? Is it the database? Is it the application? Could it be Citrix? Could it be VMware? Could it be storage? And of course, the diagnosis has to be fast so that user productivity is not impacted.
All right, thanks, Srinivas. Now, we now understand the challenges in monitoring today's, heterogeneous IT infrastructures. But let's talk about Microsoft SCOM. How much of these infrastructures can I manage, using SCOM?
Microsoft SCOM is a widely used IT infrastructure performance monitoring and management solution. I was just reading a Gartner article recently which showed that Microsoft has been gaining significant market share in the infrastructure management space. And in the last year, SCOM's revenues increased by over 35%. At EG Innovations, we see Microsoft SCOM being widely used in our customer base. And interestingly, we even see SCOM being deployed at some of our largest customers. I would say that 4 out of 10 EG enterprise customers probably have a system center running in their infrastructure. Your question on how much of today's infrastructure SCOM covers is a good one. SCOM's strength is the visibility it provides into the Microsoft stack, the applications as well as the platform. The integration that it offers with Microsoft's proprietary knowledge base is unique. While SCOM is great for Microsoft environments, the reality today is that IT infrastructures are multi-vendor in nature. Monitoring the non-Microsoft tiers of the infrastructure is where SCOM's limitation lies. The table that I put up here shows the different tiers of the infrastructure and some of the choices that administrators have for each tier. The items in black on the right-hand side are the ones that SCOM can manage quite well. Applications like Active Directory, Microsoft Exchange, SQL Server, SharePoint, etc. fall in this category. The items in red are infrastructure elements that are not natively supported by SCOM. Applications like Citrix, SAP, Sybase, and even virtualization platforms like VMware vSphere and Citrix XenServer fall in this category.
Interesting. So are enterprises and IT operations teams looking at multiple management tools to address this challenge? And what trends do you see emerging?
No. These days, customers are looking to reduce the number of tool sets they deploy. I think enterprises are looking to get more out of their existing investments. Not only is this move driven by the goal of cost reduction, but it's also driven by the need to make it simpler for administrators and help desk people so they don't have to learn and operate multiple tool sets. Cost savings can also accrue from not having to worry about the security angle to support different tools, and sometimes even certification of multiple tools can be a long, drawn-out, and expensive process. Hence, we see customers using Microsoft SCOM and looking at ways to leverage their investment in SCOM. So let's look into how they can do this. For each platform it supports, Microsoft SCOM includes management packs that have the intelligence about what metrics to collect, what thresholds to apply, and so on. SCOM includes specialized management packs for the different Microsoft applications and platforms. For non-Microsoft applications and platforms, SCOM administrators can use domain-specific management packs being offered by third-party vendors. For instance, you can get an SAP management pack from one vendor, a Sybase management pack from another vendor, and a VMware management pack from yet another vendor. As I mentioned, the management packs for different applications have to be obtained from different vendors. So since an infrastructure can have multiple application and virtualization tiers, administrators often have to put together multiple management packs to get a holistic view of the infrastructure. The different management packs offer domain expertise. But since these packs are from different vendors, usually there is no integration between them. So the result is, SCOM administrators often get a lot of metrics from different management packs, but they do not have ready access to actionable information and correlated alerts that can help them pinpoint the real root cause of a performance issue. This lack of an integrated end-to-end view of the infrastructure leads to long problem isolation and diagnosis cycles, resulting in poor user experience and loss in productivity. Another challenge is that different management packs may also be licensed differently, and this only adds to the complexity of the management solution. From the above analysis, it's clear that a multi-management pack approach does not lead to a unified management system. You can get unification in the user interface, in the sense all the data is displayed within the SCOM console, but you still need expertise and time to analyze the data. EG Enterprise Universal Management Pack concept for SCOM addresses this limitation. Here's how it works. The EG Enterprise Manager on the left collects metrics from the non-Microsoft tiers, and the SCOM plugin in the middle acts as a bridge between the EG Manager and the SCOM management server. With the integration, administrators now have a universal management pack that extends SCOM's reach to over 150 plus applications and 9 plus virtualization platforms that EG Enterprise supports. And this integration supports both Microsoft SCOM 2007 and 2012. The advantage of this approach is that administrators do not have to deploy many management packs from different vendors. They can use SCOM to monitor Microsoft services in the infrastructure, use EG Enterprise for all the non-Microsoft elements of the infrastructure, and this way, the EG SCOM plugin enables a universal management pack to be deployed for SCOM. Another very important feature is that instead of sending raw metrics to SCOM, EG Enterprise collects, analyzes, and correlates these metrics from every layer, every infrastructure tier, using an industry-first virtualization-aware root cause diagnosis technology. Only actionable information is sent to the SCOM console, and this way administrators do not have to put a whole lot of manual effort to analyze the alerts. EG SCOM integration allows any abnormalities detected by EG Enterprise to be reported via the SCOM console, and at the same time, from the SCOM console itself, administrators can launch the EG Enterprise console in context to get additional diagnostic information to help them troubleshoot and fix problems quickly. We will see this in more detail during the live demonstration in just a few minutes.
Standard thinking behind the extension of SCOM with EG Enterprise to provide complete performance visibility and insight into the entire IT environment. But the question is, how is this integration done? Srinivas?
To address your question, let's first see how EG Enterprise monitors the different infrastructure components. EG Enterprise uses a monitoring technology that is called the Universal Monitor. The smart EG Enterprise Monitor knows how to collect metrics from any of the 150 plus applications that EG Enterprise supports. If you look at the figure on the screen, SNMP was a standard for network monitoring, and EG Enterprise supports it. However, when you talk about monitoring applications, operating systems, virtualization platforms, the reality is there is no such standard like SNMP. So the EG Enterprise Monitor, or the agent, uses different APIs to speak to different applications and virtualization platforms. So in this figure, you can see that EG Enterprise is using JMX to talk to Java applications. It's using custom APIs to talk to Sybase and DB2, using ABAP calls to talk to SAP R3, and so on. Now, once it collects metrics, EG Enterprise Monitor pushes the data out using standard web protocols, HTTP or HTTPS, to the management console. The key advantage of this using HTTP or HTTPS is you do not have to open any new TCP ports or reconfigure firewall rules because all the traffic going out is just using web protocols. And the monitoring system, if you want to access EG Enterprise directly, can be done through just a web browser. From a licensing standpoint, the Universal Monitor architecture affords great flexibility. The monitor license is the same regardless of which operating system is to be monitored. The licensing is also the same regardless of the server configuration. one CPU, two CPU, four CPUs, etc. don't really matter. In fact, the licensing is also the same regardless of what applications you're trying to monitor. And if you have multiple applications running on the same operating system, you just need one license for monitoring all of these applications. So this gives you unparalleled deployment flexibility. You could be monitoring a SQL database on Windows to start off with, and down the line you could use to monitor Oracle on Linux using the same license. Having looked at how EG Enterprise works, let's take a quick look at how the integration between EG and SCOM works. Management server. The plugin also detects state changes in EG Enterprise. So if new alerts are coming into the EG Enterprise system, the plugin populates that information to the SCOM management server automatically. This way, the SCOM console will have a unified view of all the applications, servers, and networks being managed, both by EG Enterprise and by SCOM. Here are some of the benefits of the SCOM EG Enterprise integration. With the breadth of coverage that EG Enterprise provides, administrators now have a way to extend SCOM's visibility to the entire enterprise beyond the Microsoft ecosystem. Talking about virtualization, Gartner estimates that over 70% of enterprises are becoming virtualized, and over 50% of these enterprises are considering more than one virtualization technology. The integration allows EG Enterprise's best-of-breed virtualization monitoring technologies to be combined with SCOM, thereby making SCOM fully virtualization aware. In effect, SCOM becomes a one-stop shop for all your performance monitoring needs. And at the same time, administrators also have a one-click drill-down access to detailed diagnosis information that may be available in EG Enterprise and can help them with additional troubleshooting.
Very interesting. I like how you said that this solution helps, to make SCOM a one-stop shop for all performance monitoring needs, Microsoft and non-Microsoft. Now, Srinivas, can you show us a real-world example of how, the SCOM and EG Enterprise integration works?
Absolutely. Before we go into the live demonstration, let's take a quick look at the infrastructure we're going to look at in the demonstration. This infrastructure is supporting a virtualized Citrix XenApp service. The infrastructure has a couple of web interface servers, a small Citrix XenApp farm hosted on VMware vSphere, and it has a bunch of infrastructure services that are deployed to support the Citrix access by users. The scenario we will see in the demonstration is what I described earlier as the toughest performance problem to solve today. We'll take an example where users are complaining about slowness of a business service, and we'll see how the integrated solution can help you with problem diagnosis. I'm going to now zoom into a SCOM console and show you how you can diagnose this infrastructure. So you're now looking at a SCOM console with real-time alerts being passed to it by SCOM agents as well as EG agents. I'm going to start with the active alerts view. When I click on the active alerts view of SCOM, on the right-hand side, you can see alerts from SCOM's own monitoring. So, for example, the alert that I'm focused on right now is coming from a SCOM agent, whereas all the other alerts, if you look at the name column, the alerts are tagged showing that they are EG alerts, so they're coming from EG system. And notice on the first column on the left-hand side that alerts are tagged with severity levels. So a number of these orange alerts are warning alerts, but there is one critical alert that's being reported by EG to the SCOM system. If you look at the description of the alert, kind of gives you an idea of where the problem lies. Look at the description, look at the class, and you kind of can decide what the alert pertains to. So it pertains to a VMware vSphere server, and the alert is telling you that the virtual CPU utilization of the vSphere console is very high. When I click on an alert, the details panel below shows more details of what the alert pertains to. You can see from the details panel that you can see details about the summary of the alert, and you also get details about the interpretation of the alert. Why is this metric important, and how is this metric to be analyzed by the system? This information that is being populated in the alert details panel is also automatically pulled from the EG Enterprise system and populated in SCOM by the EG SCOM plugin. Now let's focus on the monitoring panel now. And here you can see that there is an EG Enterprise folder which is created automatically when you start the EG SCOM plugin. Under this folder, you'll see details of all the applications and servers and virtualization platforms that the EG SCOM plugin is tracking. When you click on the Active Alerts panel within EG Enterprise, you're only going to see the alerts that pertain to components being managed by EG Enterprise. Clicking on the All Components panel, you can see the health of all the different tiers of the infrastructure that are being managed by EG Enterprise. So you can see that a number of the tiers are healthy, but the top three, which is a VMware ESX server, a Citrix XenApp server, and a Microsoft IaaS web server are showing some issues. Let's look at these in a little bit more detail. I'm going to start by focusing on the IaaS web layer, and when I click on the components under IaaS web, you can see that currently we're monitoring a couple of web servers. One of the web servers is healthy, but the first one, Infoway Enfuse 2, is showing a warning. On the right-hand side, when I scroll through, you'll see different layers of the application. The health of these layers is automatically populated by the EG SCOM plugin based on information that's available in the EG console. So by looking at these layers, very quickly you can figure out that the network looks okay, the TCP/IP stack looks okay, the processes seem like they're running. In this particular case, it looks like you have some issues with web transactions being supported by the IaaS front end. When I click on the Layers tab on the left-hand side panel, you see the different layers. I'm going to click on the Web Transactions layer, and when I do that, the screen on the right is going to show you all the web transactions that are being monitored for the couple of IaaS servers that we are tracking. A web transaction is nothing but a sequence of URLs that are being accessed by users in real time. EG monitors are tracking the health, how many users are accessing each of these transactions, and based on metrics that are being collected, the system has detected that a couple of errors are happening. So when users try to log in, for example, if you look at the panel below, you can see that user login is having an issue. If you click on the Help Explorer view, you can get more details of what this error pertains to. So you can see that the error pertains to percentage of error responses from the server, and that in this case, you're seeing an unusually high number of errors when users try to log in. Remember I said we'll start with a scenario where users are saying, I can't access my application. This is the problem that I was referring to. In this particular scenario, users are connecting to the web front end, seeing a lot of error responses, and are calling the help desk to say they can't access the service. Now, we know that we've detected an issue with the web front end. Let's figure out exactly what's going on with the rest of the applications in the infrastructure. So at this point, you know that you have a problem. What you don't know is exactly where the problem lies. Could it be the web server? Could it be the Citrix server? Could it be the backend database? Could it be VMware? To understand this in more detail, I'm going to zoom into the Citrix XenApp tier, which is the heart of the system. As I mentioned, We're going to be looking at, this is a virtualized Citrix environment. So let's look at what's going on at the Citrix tier. Now I've zoomed into the Citrix XenApp tier. I've looked at the components that are managed in the Citrix XenApp tier. And you can see that we've got one Citrix server, which is reporting a warning at a couple of layers. You can see that the Citrix applications layer is showing a warning. The Citrix users layer is also showing a warning. This basically says when users are accessing your Citrix farm, they're seeing some issues. To diagnose this problem a little bit further, I'm going to go to the right-hand side panel, and you see a link which says Diagnose using EG. I'm going to click on the Diagnose using EG link, which is going to take me right into the EG Enterprise console, so I can look at it for more details. When I click on this link, it allows me to log in through my web browser. At this point, the EG Enterprise web console is launched, and I've gone in context to the Citrix server that I was looking at. So this is the server whose health we were looking at in the SCOM console. On the left-hand side, you see what we call as a layer model for Citrix. In this case, it's a layer model for Citrix. Now, EG Enterprise can monitor 150 plus applications. If we had application-specific views for each and every application, there would be a lot of training that we had to do for the user to use the tool productively. Rather than go with different views for different applications, we use the concept of a layer model to represent the state of any application, any virtualization platform that is managed with EG Enterprise. What this layer model tells me is pretty straightforward. Walking the layer model bottom up, you can see that the operating system layer, which is CPU, memory, disk, looks okay. When I click on any of these layers, on the right-hand side, you will see various tests that we are running against the system. And when you click on any of these tests, you can see below measurements shown. So in this case, for example, physical memory usage of the server is about 49%. So the monitoring system is telling you that the server is healthy. We have metrics, various kinds of metrics mapped to the operating system layer. And this layer is basically telling us the server, hardware, and the operating system look okay. Network looks okay, the TCP/IP stack looks okay. Walking up the layer model, you can see that the applications layer is showing a problem. The problem relates to one of the applications that's published on the Citrix server. It's called the Java GUI application. When you click on the application that's having a problem, you can find out more details. So the CPU usage of a published application is hitting about 30%. And there is only one instance of that application running at this point in time. One application running on a Citrix server taking so much, 1/3 of the CPU of the system is quite abnormal, which is why you're getting a warning alert telling you to take a look at the problem. Now let's dig a little bit further into Citrix. Above the applications layer, you've got the Citrix users layer. When I click on the Citrix users layer, on the right-hand side, you're going to see the names of the users who are logged in. Remember, our problem we came in with was user logins were failing. So there aren't too many users logged into the system. In this case, there is one user, Kevin, who's logged in. I click on Kevin. I see the details of Kevin's sessions. I can see how many sessions this user has, what latency the user is seeing when he logs into Citrix, and I can see the health of the user session. So in this case, I can see that the CPU usage for the user is about 30%. 30% CPU for one user of Citrix is extremely high, which is why you are seeing an alert. The magnifying glass next to the metric is EG's detailed diagnosis capability. When you click on the magnifying glass, you get details of this user session and why CPU usage is so high. The offending process is what you're seeing right up in the front. So you can see that there is one process ID is shown here, taking about 30% of CPU, impacting the performance of the system, possibly impacting the CPU available for all the other users of the system. What we've shown here is how you can go from the SCOM console right into the EG to find out more details of what is going on. This way, an administrator is alerted to any performance problem within any Citrix application or user, and he can see this alert in the SCOM console itself. Now, let's get back to our problem scenario. We've seen a couple of alerts. They're all in the warning state, which means the problem could be somewhere else in the infrastructure. If you remember the active alerts window that we started with, we knew we had a critical problem, and that problem related to a VMware ESX server. So I'm going to go into the VMware ESX server panel on the SCOM console. I'm going to open up the layers, and I'm going to go to the operating system layer. Now, when I'm in the operating system layer, on the right-hand side, you see the different tests being run by EG for the VMware ESX server. Now, the operating system for ESX represents the hypervisor and the service console. So different aspects of ESX performance are tracked here. So you can look at memory, you can look at the storage LUNs, you can look at the CPU usage of ESX, as well as you can also look within the ESX service console to see what's going on. And right now, as you can see from the screen, the CPU usage is showing a high warning alert, which means probably CPU usage is high. But you see another alert relating to the system console of the ESX server. And in fact, when we had looked at the alerts window, we knew what the problem was. We'd seen that this was relating to virtual CPU usage being high. To diagnose the problem again further, I'm going to go into the EG console. And you will see that the EG console goes in context to the models of the VMware ESX server. Previously, what we had seen on the left-hand side was a view into the Citrix application. Now what you're seeing is a view into the VMware ESX server. And as we had seen before, the operating system has a problem. The system console is showing an alert. And you can see that the virtual CPU usage of the console is close to 100%. The service console of ESX is a bootstrap operating system. It comes up when the ESX server boots. It's not supposed to take a lot of CPU. Today, it's taking a very high percentage of CPU. So something going on ESX is impacting the performance of the business service that we're monitoring. To find out what exactly is going on, I'm going to click on the diagnosis button again. And this will reveal the top CPU consuming processes running on ESX server's service console. Now from here, you can see that there are multiple Samba backup jobs running on the ESX server service console that are responsible for the CPU spike. So this way, by looking at the SCOM console, you were able to find out that there were problems happening in the VMware here. By clicking on the diagnosis button, we were able to get to the exact root cause of the problem. You have now all the information you need to troubleshoot the issue. You can take the evidence you have found, present it to the VMware admin, and hopefully get the problem resolved. As you saw, most of the information that was needed to determine where the key problem lies was available from the SCOM console. So if your level 1 support team or the service desk team is currently using SCOM, now they have the ability to monitor non-Microsoft applications from the console and detect problematic situations with ease. Your level 2 support staff can use the diagnose using EG button to get to the EG console and find out additional details for diagnosing the problem. Now notice in this example that we had multiple performance issues. We had web transactions failing, we had issues with Citrix, we also had VMware performance issues. The alerts in EG in the SCOM console were actually prioritized. So administrators could focus on the most critical problem, which is the root cause alert, and not be distracted by the effects of these problems. The priorities of the alerts are assigned based on EG Enterprise's patented root cause diagnosis technology. Let's take just 1 minute to understand this technology in a little bit more detail. So I'm going to go back to the EG console, and I'm going to start by looking at the performance of the business services that are being monitored in EG. Remember earlier on when we discussed, we spoke about how users care business services not individual tiers. So with EG Enterprise, you have the ability to monitor the infrastructure from a service perspective. Now, each service is associated in EG with a topology graph, which shows the applications and network devices that are involved in supporting service delivery. Here is a topology graph with real-time state of the different elements that are involved in supporting our virtualized app service. Looking at the screen, you can see that some of the tiers are working well, which is there in green, and the different shades of red indicate different levels of problems. Now, you need not be an expert at any of these technologies. Just by following the color cues, you can figure out where you want to focus your attention. So while there is an issue with the web front end, clearly this topology diagram is telling me to focus on the XenApp server, which seems to have the higher priority alert. When I click on XenApp, the management software is smart enough to detect that XenApp is running on a virtual infrastructure. It's running on a virtual machine which is hosted on ESX. Now, XenApp is hot, but ESX is hotter. Again, the software is telling you where you need to go to troubleshoot the problem. So it's telling you to call the ESX admin and not the Citrix XenApp admin. Now, when you click on ESX, you zoom into the layered model that we've seen earlier. So this allows you to troubleshoot the problem from a service perspective. We started with the user complaint, we went to the service topology diagram, we zoomed into one of the tiers that was having an issue. Now in this particular case, the VMware administrator had started a backup job. He or she was just doing their job. The administrator was not aware of the impact this backup job is having on the business service. As it turns out, the backup job is choking the ESX server, impacting the XenApp application that is running on it, and ultimately causing an issue for the user. With an end-to-end view of the business service, and by correlating the performance across different tiers, EG Enterprise is able to prioritize alerts and have these alerts pushed with the right priorities right into the EG console, into the SCOM console. Sorry. So to drive home the point of how automatic root cause diagnosis can help, here is a pictorial representation showing what would have happened without root cause diagnosis and alarm prioritization. In this example, you see that all the alarms are marked as critical, dark red on the left-hand side. So for example, users not being able to log in is a critical alert. Since all the alerts have been tagged with the same priority, an administrator is going to struggle to figure out where to focus, which problems to focus on. Root cause diagnosis greatly simplifies the administrator's job. Alarms are prioritized, so the root cause of the problem is listed with the highest severity. This way, administrators can focus on the cause of the problem and not be distracted by the effects. Hopefully, this demonstration has given you an idea of how the integrated EG SCOM solution works. Here are some of the key benefits for the administrator. Firstly, administrators can use the SCOM console to get a single pane of glass view of the infrastructure. Administrators who are familiar with SCOM do not have to learn another tool to monitor their non-Microsoft environment. They also do not have to deal with multiple management packs. One solution, the EG Enterprise solution, will provide you with monitoring capabilities for all the other application tiers that you don't have management packs for today with SCOM. We did not cover this topic in more detail, but adding custom monitoring to SCOM is often not the easiest task. EG Enterprise, on the other hand, makes it really easy for administrators to add new metrics or to monitor custom applications that can exist in the environment. This integration makes alerts from these custom monitors available fairly easily in the SCOM console. All in all, the combined solution helps enterprises maximize their return on investment in their existing SCOM deployment. Gartner recently released a report on monitoring tools that integrate with SCOM. EG Enterprise was one of the tools featured in this report. And here is what how the Gartner analyst viewed as the key value additions of the combined solution. Support for Microsoft platforms, new virtualization technologies, and applications beyond the Microsoft ecosystem were some of the key capabilities highlighted in this report. So many of you may look at monitoring as a cost center. If deployed and used correctly, a monitoring solution can offer your enterprise very significant return on investment. Here are some of the ways you can benefit from having the right monitoring and management solutions in place. Fast and accurate diagnosis can help improve user satisfaction and productivity. By automatically prioritizing alerts, the combined EG and SCOM solution reduces the intelligence and expertise needed to operate the infrastructure. This, in turn, will result in lower IT support costs. Shorter downtimes can also mean that your staff can spend less time on troubleshooting problems and focus on more productive tasks. Thirdly, you will be surprised by the number of times we can find that excessive resources have been allocated on the system. With greater visibility into the infrastructure, your operations teams can identify areas of optimization which will allow you to do more with your existing investments. And finally, if you're embarking on any form of IT transformational project, be it virtual server, virtual desktop, or cloud enablement, with the right monitoring tools in place, you give yourself the best chance of executing these projects on time and on budget. For more information on EG Enterprise and our integration with SCOM, please visit the URL here, www.eginnovations.com/free trial. And you can request for a free trial from here. Back to you, Hogan.
Thank you, Srinivas. That was excellent. And thanks for this great, comprehensive overview of how EG Enterprise's universal management pack solution for SCOM can help organizations and help make SCOM, this one-stop shop for performance monitoring you mentioned earlier. Now, can you spend a couple of minutes giving our attendees and webinar attendees, a quick background on the company, on EG Innovations?
Sure. EG Innovations is a software product vendor. We bring performance management solutions to the market. We've been around since 2001, well-established company with a track record of growth and profitability. On the screen here, you'll see a quick snapshot of some of our customers. We've had success working in some of the largest transaction processing environments, particularly in the big financials. Our solutions are also being used by many organizations in healthcare, legal, government, education, oil and gas, pretty much any sector where your IT infrastructure needs to be up and running, supporting your business. We also work with service providers who offer our software as a managed service to the customer base. As I said, we've been in existence since 2001. We have offices around the world, in the US, in UK, in the Netherlands, Hong Kong, Singapore, and India. We've invested significant efforts in understanding the performance management and monitoring needs of virtualized infrastructure, whether it is for virtualizing server or desktop applications. And this is reflected in the fact that EG Enterprise is certified by many of the key vendors in this space, Citrix, VMware, Red Hat, and so on. The EG Enterprise SCOM integration you heard about today is Microsoft System Center certified. Just to conclude, EG is one of Gartner's cool vendors in IT operations management in 2010, and we were also one of the first vendors of the Best of VMworld Award at VMworld 2008 in the application and infrastructure management category.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you, Srinivas. All right. Now it's time for our live Q&A session. And if you didn't get a chance to enter your question, you can do so now. Just go to the questions module in your GoToWebinar console and enter your question. And take a look to see what we have so far. All right. This is this one. Srinivas, does the EG SCOM plugin application need to run on a separate system, or can it run on the same system as the EG Enterprise Manager? Srinivas?
It can run on the same system as the EG Enterprise Manager. Our recommendation would depend on the size of the infrastructure being managed as well. So if you're running less than 100 servers, the same system might do, provided you've given it sufficient CPU and memory. Otherwise, if it would be for a larger infrastructure, we prefer to have separate systems.
Very good. Next question. Can I monitor SAP using the SCOM solution you described? And if so, how do I do that?
Yes, you can monitor SAP, both the R3 stack as well as the Java stack. In fact, our solution is SAP certified. So you can, EG Enterprise integrates uses SAP-based CCMS interfaces to talk into the SAP R3 system. We use JMX to talk to the Java stack, pull the metrics from the different tiers, analyze, correlate it, and present the data in the SCOM console, pretty much in the same way that I described our integration for Citrix performance management.
Oh, very good. Now, Srinivas, you spoke about alerts and diagnosis. What about reporting?
The performance metrics that you saw, through the demo, you saw screens where we showed the performance data, CPU usage being about 100% and so on. All of the performance data is stored in the EG Enterprise database. We have a reporting engine that provides out of the box hundreds of reports that are pre-canned for different users of the infrastructure, different stakeholders of the organization. So we have reports that are specific to the executives, reports that are ideal for a Citrix administrator, reports that might be good for a VMware administrator. All of the reports, we didn't get a chance to look at the reporting engine in this demonstration, but all of the reports are web-based. They can also be scheduled, so you can get the reports delivered to your mailbox without even logging into the EG system.
Very good. Next question. Are the metrics collected by the EG Enterprise monitoring system stored in the SCOM database? Pretty much.
No. The way the integration is done, the metrics remain in the EG Enterprise database. What we are passing to SCOM is help information for every single metric that we collect. The idea being to give the SCOM interface being the one that the help desk or the level 1 administrators are most often going to use, and all the information they need is available in the SCOM interface. If you need additional details for reporting or diagnosis that a level 3 engineer might be interested in, you can go from the SCOM interface to the EG console and get that data.
Very good. The next question is this solution ready for cloud environments?
Yes, it is. Remember I mentioned when I showed the architecture, I showed the EG agent communicating using HTTP or HTTPS to the management console. So you can do this a couple of, the cloud question can be interpreted a couple of different ways. If you're talking about managing environment systems that are deployed in the cloud, you can deploy the agent on the cloud instances. The agents can talk back to an EG Enterprise system anywhere in the cloud or even within your intranet. So all you need is a HTTP connection from the agent to the management console, and from the EG console alerts can be, and state information can be sent into the SCOM console. If you want to do the monitoring on the cloud, the EG console again is 100% web-based, so you can put the console on the web, and you can have agents deployed within your infrastructure talking back to the EG console. So that is also possible.
Very good. Now the next question is also about SAP. If I am monitoring an SAP server running on Windows, do I need both a SCOM agent and an EG Enterprise agent running on the same system? Srinivas?
No. You would only require the EG agent running on the SAP system. The EG agent will monitor both your applications as well as your operating system. You saw that in the example. I was showing an example of a Citrix XenApp server running on Windows where the EG agent was tracking the health of the entire system, both the operating system as well as the application stack.
All right, very good. The next question, do I need to reboot my server if I install your agents?
No, the agents are lightweight. You don't really have to reboot the system to have the agents work.
Okay. And what about agentless monitoring?
We have complete support for agentless monitoring as well. So that's why I called it the EG Universal Monitor, because we support both agent-based and agentless monitoring. We let customers decide what parts of the infrastructure they want to manage agentless, what parts they want to manage agent-based. So pretty much both options are available to customers.
Very good.
In fact, you can even monitor parts of your infrastructure with agents and parts without agents. For example, your staging servers can be agentless, your production servers can be agent-based, because you want to keep them secure and you don't want somebody, an agent or an agentless monitor connecting into the server.
Yeah, that gives you a lot of flexibility. Very good. Next question is about SAP again. Do I need a SCOM license for an SAP server if it's monitored by EG Enterprise?
No, you don't, because you would have an EG agent running on the SAP system.
Very good. Cloud-related question. When monitoring from the cloud, how significant is the bandwidth usage for the information being sent down to the management server?
Typically, we are not we're not flooding the network with a lot of data. The agent will analyze all the metrics, will only send the final results back over the cloud. So what you will see, the bandwidth usage of the agent is anywhere between 0.1 to 1 kilobit per second, based on what you're monitoring, how frequently you're monitoring, and so on. So it's pretty lightweight.
Very good. The next question, also a licensing question, is do I have to buy SCOM agent licenses for the EG Enterprise server? Yes.
You need a license for the SCOM plugin server, yes.
Yeah. But that is only in the scenario if I want to integrate with SCOM. I guess the question also asks, can EG Enterprise be used standalone without SCOM?
Yes, it can be used standalone. As I demonstrated, there is a web console where you can go and pretty much access all the data as well as the alerts from the web console.
Good. Next question. You showed an example of monitoring VMware. What about Hyper-V?
EG Enterprise supports 9+ virtualization platforms. Hyper-V is also one of those. So we can support VMware, Hyper-V, Zen Server, as well as the Unix variants of virtualization, including Red Hat virtualization, AIX LPARs, and Solaris LDOMs.
Next question, it's probably most unrelated. Can we create a custom dashboard in SCOM to monitor specific items from the EG Enterprise Manager? Srinivas?
What we're populating in the SCOM console right now is health information and alerts. So your dashboard can use any of the information that we are populating into SCOM and create new dashboards. So you can do that. Yes.
Very cool. Does your solution, so I guess that refers to EG Enterprise, monitor physical servers also? And what about network devices? And do I need to install an agent on each network device? Srinivas?
Yes, the solution can monitor physical and virtual environments, so physical servers are also supported. Network devices can also be monitored using SNMP. The network monitoring is agentless, so you will not be installing any agents on the network devices.
Good. Okay. Next question. Do the SCOM alerts generated by the EG agent get automatically acknowledged if the event is no longer a problem?
Good question. EG Enterprise will automatically clear an alert if the problem goes away. So for instance, if the network is down, you will get an alert saying the network is down. If the network comes back up, it will automatically clear the alert in its console. The EG SCOM plugin will also clear the alert in the SCOM console. So yes, what you're seeing in the SCOM active alerts window is really what alerts are outstanding in your environment right now. I didn't show this in the active alerts window, but you also can look at state transitions from there. So you can see when did an alert go away, how long did it last, and when did the new alert come in, and so on from within SCOM.
Thank you. That sounds very sophisticated. Good. Next question. Can we get an email report when an event is critical?
Yes. EG Enterprise can be configured to do that. You can create different user views in EG that kind of indicate the scope, the number of servers and the applications that you're responsible for. And when there is a problem related to one of the applications or servers that you're responsible for, you'll get an alert indicating the severity of the problem and providing details of the problem.
Thank you. Are the alerts based on adjustable thresholds?
I didn't get into this in the demonstration, but EG supports automatic, we call it automatic baselines. It is based on historical data. So the EG manager will look at the past history of a metric, and it will compute time of day and day of week baselines, which can be used for alerting. We also provide customers the ability to set their own baselines, fixed baselines if they want to. And you can even have, for the same metric, a combination of both fixed and automatic baselines. So you can tell the system, if my baseline is only above a fixed value, go with the automatic baseline and set the alert. So intelligent baselining is implemented in the EG system for every metric that it collects.
Thank you. Very good. Yeah, let's take this one. What about monitoring of Unix? Do you support Linux? And what about AIX? Srinivas?
Yes, different. We support pretty much all flavors of Linux, SUSE, Red Hat, Ubuntu, all of those. AIX is also a supported platform.
Awesome. Next question. And I realize we're a little bit over time, but a lot of questions are coming in. And please don't hold back. Please submit your questions. And if we don't get to it during this live webinar, during our live Q&A, we will definitely follow up with you after the webinar. So on to the next question. Does the EG Enterprise Manager use a database? And can the same database server be used for both the EG Manager and SCOM? Srinivas?
The EG Enterprise Manager does use a database. You can have either SQL Server or Oracle as the backend. If you're using SQL Server, the EG database can also be created on the same database server that is used for SCOM. Yes.
Very good. And the related question is, how much storage space does it take up on the database?
That's a tough question to give an absolute answer for. We have a benchmark utility where you can compute the database size that you need depending on the number of servers that you have, the number of days of storage that you want, the raw data to be stored for, and so on. Typically for a 100-server environment, you're probably talking about 200 GB of data being stored, assuming 6 weeks of raw measurement data being maintained in the database.
All right, sounds good. Next question. Am I correct in assuming, based on the demonstration, that your measurement data is stored in EG Enterprise and not in SCOM? And if I have to go to the EG Enterprise console, if I want to see, more detailed information and diagnosis. Long question, Srinivas?
Yes, that is correct. As I mentioned, our focus is to get the state information into SCOM so the level 1 administrators can continue using the SCOM console for all their performance management needs. And the level 2, level 3 administrators who want to diagnose problems in more detail can go from SCOM into the EG console to get the additional diagnosis and reports that they need.
Very good. But by the way, we have still over 100 live attendees listening to a Q&A session. So a very interested audience, which is awesome. And I keep getting a couple of questions regarding the slides and recording of this webinar. And yes, we will make both the slides and the recording available to you after the webinar. We'll send you an email with the links so you can review the webinar, review the slides. So yes, that'll be available. Next question. You showed alerts from EG Enterprise going into SCOM. What about the other way around? If I want EG Enterprise to get alerts from SCOM, is that possible?
Yes, that is possible. EG Enterprise has a trap receiver concept where it can receive traps from any management system you have or any device you have in your environment. So SCOM can be configured to send its alerts to EG Enterprise as well.
Cool. Next question. I have Citrix XenApp running on VMware, very similar to the example you showed. I think based on what you showed, that I can monitor both the XenApp and VMware tiers with your solution. Is this correct? And if so, do I need to purchase different modules, different agents for Citrix and for VMware? Pretty much.
Yes, you can monitor pretty much all the tiers of the infrastructure with the combined solution. As I mentioned before, EG Enterprise does not have the concept of plugins. So it does not have different monitors we don't sell different agents for VMware and another agent for Citrix and so on. The universal monitor is what you need to purchase. The universal monitor gives you the ability to monitor any of the applications and virtualization platforms you support. So if you had 10 XenApp instances running on a couple of VMware servers, you would need 10 universal monitor licenses for the XenApp servers and a couple of licenses for VMware. That's about it. And once you have these licenses, the licenses are not tied to the applications or virtualization platforms, so you're free to move them around to other parts of the infrastructure that you may want monitoring for down the line.
Very good. All right, one more question, and before we wrap up, and it's about custom monitors. The question is, you briefly referred to developing new custom performance monitors for unique IT environments. How easy is this to do, and would I develop this in the SCOM console or in EG Enterprise? Srinivas?
You would develop the custom monitors in the EG Enterprise administration console. The EG Enterprise system gives you different ways of feeding new data into the system. So you can, if you have existing scripts, batch files, PowerShell scripts that are working for you right now, we have a simple interface through which you can integrate these scripts into the EG system. So you can have an EG agent run these scripts, collect the output of these scripts, analyze them, and then feed it into the EG system. Now, based on the baselines and thresholds that you've set, alerts from these custom monitors will go into the SCOM system. So that's the way in which you would build your own custom monitors. You can build these as extensions, say for example, to monitor Citrix XenApp better, or you can even use these to monitor custom